We're so fortunate today to have Mel Tell with us. She is a wonderful therapist who primarily works in trauma work. She really enjoys using different types of modalities to access the inner child. And we are going to hand over to her for a very short introduction. Welcome, Mel.
Thank you. Thanks, Kat. It's lovely to be here. So, as Kat introduced, I am a therapist that specializes in trauma. It's interesting because I was at a retreat last week and they asked us to introduce ourselves, but introducing ourselves with no labels. And I found that like fascinating.
Wow.
Like, what is your professional, without introducing your professional label? And so I'm kind of sitting here and I'm thinking, well, who am I? Like, who am, So I'll introduce that part of me. I am Melissa. I live in Cape Town. This is actually my neighbor, which is amazing. And I am a mom of a 2-year-old. And I love cooking. My hobbies are cooking. I love creating. I love crafting. And if I actually have to go to the deeper like meaning or the deeper understanding of like an introduction of myself, I love healing. For me, healing is my essence, and that is who I am. And in every interaction and in every interaction with my son and with people, I love to bring light and I love to bring humor and joy into the world. So that's who I am.
Perfect. And okay, so I'm going to jump into question 2. Why is women's wellness important to you, and what is one wellness non-negotiable for you?
Okay. So women's wellness is so important to me because I feel, Kat, that as women, we hold so much. So we just hold so many lists, like the list after list after list. We hold being moms. We hold being the nurturer. We hold a lot of emotions. We hold also, we can go far back as generational trauma. We're holding so much. So women's wellness for me is so important that we're given a space to release, to heal what's no longer ours. I think one non-negotiable for me is movement. And I say movement because I feel like in movement, we can release a lot of energy, and movement, especially for me, I feel like it's a space that I go into breathing. So you've got no choice but to breathe. So movement for me is really about breath. It's about moving, getting that energy moving, but it's also about prayer. And prayer for me means affirmations. So when the pain is coming and I'm feeling my shoulders like really tense, I speak to that. I connect. I allow that to be, and I also am affirming. I'm affirming what I actually want to be. So I go into a state of prayer, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. It's beautiful. Um, okay, so what led you to become such an expert in this field, and what drives you to keep going?
The one thing, my mom's best friend is the Reiki master, and she is a reflexologist and an aromatherapist, and she asked me to be her case study for trauma release exercises. Basically, I entered into her room and she taught me these exercises. And Kat, I swear it was like the moment I came home. I came home into my body, and it was like as if I arrived. What happened to me is that I had disconnected so much from my body. I was so numb that when I was introduced to this tool, it was just like magic. I'd arrived, and I'd also been gone through during my childhood, a lot of talk therapy. And what had happened was that I would I'd be in the session, I'd love it, and I'd be like, this is amazing. And then I'd go out into my life and into the world, and it was chaos. I didn't really have tools. So yeah, it was purely by fate and chance that I got into it. And it's changed my life. It really has. That's how it's first, to be honest, I was my first client. I had to go through the journey and to see the magic of just reconnecting with myself, with my body. That is what led me into continuing to focus on trauma, continuing to focus on the body.
It gives you such an authentic lens, though, because
Mm,
you know exactly what the
mm,
other person, your
mm.
client, is
Yeah,
going through. So it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now chat to us about the impact of TRE.
Okay, so maybe I'll begin with what is TRE.
Yes.
For some people who actually don't know what it is. So TRE, it stands for trauma release or tension release release exercises. Basically, it's a set of 7 exercises that elicits a shaking mechanism in our body. So this incredible man, Dr. David Baselli, he was the founder of TRE. He basically, he was in a bomb shelter in Lebanon. A bomb went off, and he saw the kids' reaction versus the parents' reaction. So the kids would literally like shake, they would dislodge whatever they were experiencing, but the parents would literally hold it in. Their eyes, exactly. And literally after they were like released out of the bomb shelter, the kids would go on their merrily way, happy, they had flattened the experience, but the adults were still
Hold it. Yeah.
exactly. So he developed these exercises that really target what's known as the psoas muscle. So this, I don't know if you've ever heard of the psoas muscle before.
Yes. Yes.
So the psoas muscle is actually known as the seat of trauma. That is where we hold and we store our tension in. So the psoas muscle is our core that connects our legs to our spine and then to the brain stem. And the brain stem is that fight, flight, freeze response. So basically, when we experience stress or trauma, what happens is we curl, we tighten. It sends signals to the brain saying, I'm not safe. You need to release cortisol, adrenaline. There's about 1,000 stress hormones that the body starts releasing. So what TRE then begins to target is almost that safety mechanism, because when you begin shaking, it then sends signals to your brain, okay, I'm not under threat. You don't need to release the cortisol, the adrenaline, 1,000 stress hormones that it's releasing. So, I mean, from personal experience and what I've witnessed, TRE is incredible with anxiety. It is an incredible way of also allowing your body to release what is stored. And your body has so much wisdom. It can tell you what you're actually carrying if given the opportunity to slow down, if given the opportunity to integrate. So TRE really is about a process of allowing your body to release, plus also integrating what you've stored and giving safety to allow what needs to come up to be released.
That reminds me so much. So it's almost like a processing mechanism. It reminds me so much of when people say crying is healthier than you realize because you're releasing the cortisol and everything. It reminds me of the same thing.
Of course. And our bodies are so fascinating, Kat, because like, so crying, there is nothing better than that guttural, my gosh, it is so cathartic. And then also yawning. Yawning is another way of release. You know, your body has so many mechanisms to release. And it's really about, I always say to people and I always say to clients, it's really about finding a modality that suits you, that resonates. Some people will see TRE and they'll be like, that's not for me. And then some people, like me, I found like it was home. Like I was literally coming home into my body. And I think it's really about just doing a bit of searching and entering into like a phase of curiosity to find like a exactly exploration. Thank you for that word. To find a modality that really suits you and that resonates with you, it's so important because that is what's going to bring safety into your body.
Absolutely. It actually sounds so fascinating to me. So we've spoken about TRE. Now, how does QEC therapy work?
Okay.
Because I know nothing about that.
Okay. So QEC is a shortened version for quantum energy coaching. And it was developed by a lady called Dr. Melanie Salmon. She's an incredibly brilliant lady. Basically, she was a medical doctor, and then she studied psychotherapy. She studied Gestalt psychotherapy, and she did that for about 40 years. So what was happening is that people were coming into her office, and they were presenting with all these symptoms of, they were really ill, cancer, very stressed. And she almost felt this level of like helplessness because, medicine, she was prescribing the medicine wasn't helping. She was doing talk therapy. The talk therapy, it was taking very long. And she then was like, hang on, what is the missing ingredient? There's something missing here. And she was like, a brainwave came in, and she was like, the subconscious mind. So she's developed this modality really targeting the subconscious mind, okay? And she's interweaved a number of different therapies. So it's body work. There is kinesiology. She focuses on breathing, a lot of breathing, crossing the midlines, so the left and the right brain, and neuroscience. And she's developed a modality that really focuses on looking at one's limiting beliefs, traumas, and fears, and rehardwiring the way a person perceives what they've experienced.
That's incredible and so effective.
Yeah. And also to be given a space, where you're completely present. It's not hypnosis. It is you're given a space. So for example, Kat, give me an example of something that you are really, it can be deep and it can be very superficial, but something that you are struggling with at the moment.
Where shall I begin?
Okay. I'm ready. I've got my headphones on.
Okay, so I will tell you my assignments that are due for the last 2 weeks of term. They're hard, very hard.
What is the subject?
Mixed methods. Wait, I have to read it to you because I'm not even.
Okay.
It's mixed method theoretical perspectives through a theoretical lens.
What?
Yeah,
oh wow. Okay, I get it. I understand.
I had to read it a few times and I still and I left out that it's inductive logic has to be part of the research.
What does that even mean? Okay, well you're gonna have to share with everybody once you've completed the assignment.
I'll give you an easier fear though, or like something that I always struggle with is how I hate. Okay. And can I ask you, Kat, did you in your childhood did you ever fall? Was there anything that Off a balcony.
Wow. How old were you?
I think 3 or 4.
Wow. So that procedural memory is stuck in you. Well, you don't remember it, but your body will remember it. And your body will also remember the reaction of your parents, so how they reacted. So a lot of what, they must have reacted with a lot of fear or guilt or hysteria, panic. And that's been caught, that's been stored in you. So QEC, we would work at constructing, we would co-create sentences or affirmations. I don't really like to call them affirmations. They're more about statements to release that hysteria, to release the panic. And then we program it in using some breathing and some kinesiology and crossing the midbrain. And so like with quantum, we would now go and we would trace back that feeling. We would trace back when you felt that before. And we would work with statements to re-hardwire, because now you're sitting with fear. So we would co-create, you would come up, I would just be facilitating and guiding, and it is magic. When you see a woman soften, and when you see them connect to their heart and release, there is something so magical in that. It is incredible. It is so powerful. Also, and powerful is the right word, because you're stepping back into your power.
Yeah. No, it sounds incredible. Okay, so you specialize in grief, loss, and anxiety, just to name a few. How does this type of therapy assist with that? So you basically explained a bit about how it taps into all of those.
Yeah. Kat, I want to also mention something about grief, loss, and it's been my own personal experience and what I've experienced doing therapy. There's always underlying emotion underneath anxiety. I always say, like, anxiety, overwhelm is like the tip of the iceberg. There's always stuff underneath it. And we need to give space for those emotions to be released. It needs a safe space. It needs a container. It needs a space to release. And during my own journey, I found that the underlying emotion for me that I was carrying was a lot of deep-seated anger, which was actually rage. And anger, if you ask somebody, well, when I ask people in therapy, like, are they okay with anger? How do they feel around anger? And often, and it was the same for me, often it would be like anger was a no-go zone. I wasn't allowed to have anger. I had to squash my anger or suppress my anger. Exactly. Or go to your room. You need to, and anger gets trapped in our bodies.
Okay.
So we need a space to release it. Also, Kat, if anger and all of these, also underneath that could be shame and guilt around feeling it. I often think that we need a space to release, because when those emotions are channeled and released, they are so powerful.
No, definitely.
Yeah, they can create, it is incredible when given the correct space or given the correct conditions. It is incredible what can come out of those emotions.
I find that emotions are given such bad labels when that is not
I
the
know.
case. If you're not
I know.
managing them healthily, that's different. Emotions are emotions. You should experience all of them. Otherwise, you're not, balanced.
Of course.
You can turn anger into fuel, like sport. Incredible.
Absolutely. Emotions are just energy in motion. They just need to be moving. But the issue becomes, Kat, is when we attach a story to it. So our brain goes into, okay, well, I experienced anger. It goes back to the memory of anger and what happened to the anger. And there's a lot of stories around emotions, and those stories almost create even more fear than just allowing that emotion to just be and pass. Exactly. So it definitely is, it needs a space. It needs to, often with those emotions, it needs to also be held without judgment, held without being fixed.
No, you're so right. Emotions are not the issue. It's what we do with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that, actually. I'm going to take that. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So in your opinion, what are the main reasons for embarking on a healing journey? So it may seem obvious. I'm asking this because, if I look around, there are so many people that are living with trauma and have never done anything to release that and to take that sack off their back.
And Kat, you're touching on something so deep, and something, because I think, again, we holders, and I think it's a lot easier to hold. And also if we release, we almost scared to see what's on the other side. It's almost like when I started my journey, I was like, oh my God, it needs to be a big bang. I need to release all my traumas. And we're scared what's on the other side. And so there's fear in it, number one. And almost I'm reminded of the butterfly. Okay. So the butterfly and birth. All right. So when a butterfly, and I used to live in a home that had a caterpillar tree, and I used to sit there and just watch the caterpillars becoming butterflies. And it was so fascinating. And I just used to sit there for hours and just like, so what happens is that the caterpillar actually needs to struggle. It needs to go through quite a lot of pain, and it starts bleeding when it's released into this beautiful butterfly. And that's almost like it's almost like a metaphor of like a healing journey, because you have to go through some sort of pain. But when you are released and when that transformation happens, there is so much magic and light at the end. If you're able to go through that process and release, you can get to so much light and transformation at the end. And I think it's just about acknowledging and being present that there is going to be a point of darkness. There is going to be a point that you're going to have to sit with really uncomfortable emotions. But once it's released, it's gone. You've just got to have awareness. And and I think it's a lot of what we carry is our past, our past conditionings, our past stories, and to be given a space to release that and to release without judgment, and not to, this isn't about fixing. Childhood trauma is not about fixing. This is about allowing. This is about being.
Also, I think it's also so good, especially as a woman. I mean, I don't want to be sexist, but I think it's important that before you have children,
Yeah.
face yourself,
Yeah.
because we don't want to, each generation betters,
Of course. And then this child arrives and your lessons start to unfold. Your lessons start to become a lot clearer. Your traumas start to become a lot clearer. So I was very much, before I had my son, I was very much, I have to clear as much as I can, because I don't want that to carry into his cells. I don't want him, exactly. And it does, Kat. You're speaking to such, it does. You're speaking to generational trauma. It carries, I was always very clear with, it ends with me and it stops with me. My son doesn't deserve to carry this. My son deserves to be a child, to play, to be. To just be. And it's not to say that, every trauma and stress is a part of human nature.
Yes.
We can't prevent it. But what we can do is we can create spaces for it to be held. I feel like as a parent, my biggest gift would be that my child comes to me to actually tell me what's going on.
Exactly. I think it's so important to feel no fear in having a transparent conversation.
I think we don't actually realize what we're carrying that actually isn't our own. And that's not our own, actually. So I think the work is honoring that generation and really handing it back with so much love and gratitude of the lessons that you've been able to learn. And also, once you make that decision that you're no longer going to be a carrier of this and you're going to hand it back, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful process to also honor that generation that actually fought really hard for you. Like a lot of our grandparents were in wars, were in scarcity, exactly, constantly running away. The fact that we can do that, I always think like we do the work to honor them, to say thank you for paving the way for me, that I can begin to stand in my power, I've got the tools to help me regulate them, to regulate my nervous system. And I think it is so powerful. It is so beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I'm quickly jumping to the next one. I love the concept and tool of innate wisdom. We touched on this very briefly. Tell us a bit more about this.
So we did touch on it because our bodies as women, we have this innate wisdom in our bodies. But because we live in such a fast-paced world, we live in such a world that is so harsh, that is so disconnected, we have completely lost that. We have completely, and my kind of philosophy is slow down, to connect. Your body has so much wisdom. I actually am studying, and I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. Okay, so she's an incredible, I look at her and I think she's the pioneer of healing. She was the mother of healing. So she healed her cancer. She really is. It's worth going to look at her. And basically she, in her book, she has a list of different ailments, from cancer to flu to warts to you name it. And she gives the probable cause. So what is your thought process behind it? And then she gives a new affirming belief around it. And actually, the reason I'm sharing this is because our bodies, if you just tune in, your body will give you that wisdom. Your body knows. It's really about slowing down. It's really about connecting and being given a space to be, to allow that wisdom to come out.
I think we're not given quietness and stillness. It's almost like frowned upon. You can't sit still. You can't be, why are you sitting here in silence? It is so important to get messages and, as you say, like the communications from your body can't be done in noise.
No. And there's this whole conditioning about, if you are, because the world is so fast, and the minute you kind of get off that hamster wheel, it becomes like, gosh, shaky. It becomes like, hang on. And also when one slows down, it's kind of viewed as laziness. I was, for instance, this morning, I woke up at 5. I'd done my exercise. I'd done my prayer. I went for a cold water plunge. This is a good day. It's not always like that. And
I was going to say, wow.
It's a very good day. This is a good day for me. And about 10 o'clock hit, and I was like, you know what? I actually feel quite tired. Like I've done quite a lot today. And the old Melissa would have been like, no, Mel, you have to push on. You've got admin, you've got stuff to do, you've got to carry on. And actually, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of time to rest, to sit in. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to listen to my body.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on safe spaces for women?
I think a safe space we need it. It's a non-negotiable for women.
A non-negotiable, exactly.
I think that, again, we live in a world that is very fast-paced, there's a quick fix for everything. And if we need spaces to be created that women feel like they are being held, that women feel like they are not being judged. And once a woman feels that, they begin to soften. Their nervous system begins to say, okay, hang on, I don't need to hold this by myself. I don't need to hold this alone. And I think we heal in community. We heal.
I was just going to say that ties into the community question so much.
It's so important. And also, there is nothing more pertinent asking, and again, we are in a society or in a world that doesn't promote oneness, that doesn't promote sharing, that it's like, I have to be independent, I have to balance my work, my life, my children, and in order to heal, we need to reach out. We need to be in community. We need to be held. We need to learn to ask for help. We need people to witness our pain. It's so important that our pain is witnessed and held without being judged, without being fixed. And so community is, for me, it is extremely, extremely important. And there's different forms. It's just about being able to really know when to ask for help, to know when to ask for support. There's something so beautiful and healing in asking. We begin to soften.
A lot of people feel like it's a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength, knowing where your limit is.
Absolutely. And vulnerability. Also, I can't hold this alone anymore. I need somebody to help me. That's a sign of vulnerability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump to the last question now.
Sure.
What are the 3 things you wish South African women knew when it comes to health and wellness?
So I would have to say that the first one is nature.
Yeah.
Nature is our biggest healer. Nature can hold if we could just allow it. And be very blessed that we live in Cape Town and we're surrounded by the forest and we're surrounded by.
Very lucky.
We are extremely, extremely lucky. But some people aren't. Some people live in cities. So I think also to, like perhaps having plants around, putting your hands in the soil, and really, really connecting.
Yes.
My next one would be slowing down, and really listening. As I said, that there is innate wisdom in what your body is holding and what your body is storing. So to give yourself the opportunity to slow down is the biggest gift you can give yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I'd have to say movement. Movement for me is
Absolutely. Number
mentioned
one.
it before, just to allow that energy to move, those emotions to move. It is so, so important. And yeah,
It also
it
gets
really.
that emotions can create issues in your organs, and your lymphatic system needs to release everything.
Correct. Yeah, and even just a simple walk. A simple walk.
So good for you.
It's amazing how, because your mind is so busy, and just a walk and getting out and clearing your mind through that walk, because you're getting that movement, but you're also being given the opportunity to clear and to let go. Yeah, those would be my three main things that I would say to. And also those are available to everyone. They're available. Really, again, it's really about finding things that resonate. So to find a movement, free dancing, there's so much available, and people are so creative with it. So to find something it's so important to find something that resonates. Because your body will feel that. You don't want to come from force. It's not about force. Healing is not about force. Healing is not about efforting and a checklist. And healing is about being. Healing is about slowing down. It's about softening. It's about listening to and being mindful, listening to what your body is telling you, because there is such innate wisdom. There is so many gifts that your body is telling you.
Exactly. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Last question is, are there going to be any events, collabs, anything coming up for the end of the year? And then what are your contact details?
So at the moment, I don't have any events on. I'm actually taking a break. So I'm taking a lovely long rest. I'm sitting this week doing every end of the year, every beginning of the year and end of the year. I sit with dream boarding. I actually run dream boarding workshops. And for me, it is just the most creative space of really setting an intention for a year and planning and setting goals and everything. So, my website is www.melissarae.co.za, and my email is mel@melissarae.co.za. I also offer a 30-minute complimentary session for clients who want to just explore if this is the right modality and if our energies match and everything. If people just go on my website and they fill out, it comes in a form version. So they can get me on my website.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today.
Thank you, Kat. I really appreciate it. It was so lovely. Thank you.